Have you ever found yourself staring at a to-do list, knowing exactly what needs to be done, but you just can't get started? You glance at the clock, think just 5 more minutes on your phone, and suddenly an hour has passed. The task is still there, untouched. Guilt hits, anxiety builds, and then it feels even harder to begin. That, my friend, is the face of procrastination. But take it easy. You're not alone in this. In fact, talking about procrastination and discipline is important because nowadays it affects almost everyone. We live in an era where distractions are everywhere. Social media, notifications, 1,000 open tabs. And at the same time, we're expected to be productive all the time. Feels like a trap, doesn't it? It is. But the problem goes beyond just being late with tasks. When procrastination becomes a routine, it drains our self-esteem, delays our goals, and makes us feel like we're constantly playing catch-up. That's where discipline comes in, which many people think is all about willpower or unshakable focus. But is it really just that? Here's a spoiler, it's not. The idea of this video is to explore this topic with a gentler, more practical lens. Understand why procrastination happens, how it connects to our discipline or lack of it, and most importantly, how we can break this cycle. Don't expect magic formulas or shallow motivational talk. What you'll find here is an honest conversation based on science and real life about how this behavior works and how we can deal with it in a healthier way. Because deep down, the question isn't just how to be more productive, but how can we live more lightly without the constant weight of feeling behind in life? Let's go. I'll show you how it starts and how it keeps going. Imagine a loop, a circle that begins with a simple task and ends with you feeling frustrated, tired, and still not having done what you needed. That's the procrastination cycle. It seems harmless at first, but the more you repeat it, the harder it gets to break free. Let's break it down with a real-life example. You need to write a report, nothing crazy, but when you sit down to do it, discomfort kicks in. Maybe boredom, insecurity, fear it won't turn out well. Your brain senses danger, and trying to protect you suggests, hey, how about checking Instagram real quick to relax first? You accept. After all, it's just a minute. But that minute turns into 30. Then comes the guilt. The task is still there. Now, on top of the task, you're carrying emotional weight. And that emotional weight makes it even harder to restart. That's the cycle. Emotional trigger, boredom, fear, doubt. Escape to immediate relief. Distraction, like social media, temporary relief, guilt or frustration. Negative reinforcement of the task. It feels worse than before. This pattern is much more emotional than rational. It's not about laziness or lack of character like many people think. It's about how our brain works. Procrastination, according to neuroscience, is a form of emotional regulation. When a task seems to cause pain, mental, emotional, or even physical, the brain looks for a quicker, more pleasant escape. And let's face it, TikTok is way easier to deal with than writing a tough email. The problem? Every time you give in to that escape, you reinforce the habit of avoidance, and the brain learns. Hard task, pain, escape. Result? Next time, procrastination hits even faster. The good news, just like procrastination is a learned behavior, it can also be unlearned. But it starts with awareness, knowing it's not a flaw, but an automatic mechanism, and that you can interrupt the cycle, slowly but surely. When we talk about breaking procrastination, the first thing many people think is, I need more discipline. And what's usually imagined when we think of discipline? That near-military image of someone who wakes up at 5 a.m., follows routines perfectly, never gets distracted, and has bulletproof willpower. But that's a myth. The truth is, no one, I repeat, no one runs purely on willpower. And you shouldn't try to. Willpower is like a phone battery. It starts full, but drains throughout the day. If you rely only on it to get things done, you'll crash eventually. Real discipline doesn't come from constant effort. It comes from systems, environments, and habits. Let's break that down. Think about your routine of brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation for that, right? It's a solid habit. You do it almost on autopilot because it's deeply ingrained. Now imagine if every day you had to make a hard decision to brush your teeth. Exhausting, right? Exactly. The idea is that important tasks, like studying, working on a project, exercising, should live in the same space as brushing your teeth. Positive autopilot. So, how does that happen? Not with starting Monday promises or brute force. It happens with small daily tweaks. Things like reducing the friction to get started, setting things up the night before. Creating triggers, like always starting task X after your coffee. Rewarding the effort, not just the result, with something you enjoy. Repeating consistently, even in micro doses. That's where real discipline comes in. Not as rigidity, but as the art of creating conditions that make doing the right thing easier. And here's the thing, when you start taking action even without full motivation and see results come in, the motivation shows up after. That's the opposite of what we're used to thinking. So discipline isn't about being a robot. It's about learning to reduce the friction between you and what you want to build. And the more you understand that, the less you depend on that magical push of motivation, and the more you feel in control. Now let's see how all this actually affects your productivity, maybe in ways you haven't even realized. When we think about productivity, we often imagine ticking off checklists, hitting goals, using time well. And yes, procrastination seems like the obvious villain here, but its impact goes far beyond delaying things. It not only reduces what we produce, it drains mental energy, messes with our focus, and sabotages our sense of ability. Let's make this real with an example. Say you have an important task due Friday. On Monday you think, I've got all week, I'll do it later. Tuesday passes, then Wednesday. Thursday comes, and anxiety kicks in. On Friday, you go into panic mode and finish everything in a rush. The task gets done, but it's rushed, draining, and you end up exhausted saying, never again will I leave it to the last minute. And yet, the same thing happens next week. What's at stake isn't just the time you lost. It's the mental burden you carried all those days, with the task hovering in your mind like a grey cloud. Even when you weren't doing anything, your mind was occupied with it. That drains energy. This type of overload has a name, the cognitive cost of delayed tasks. Every time you postpone something, your mind keeps that task open. That creates stress, restlessness, and fatigue. It's like keeping too many windows open on a computer. The system eventually slows down. Plus, procrastination directly affects your self-image. Every time you say you'll do something and don't, you lose a little trust in yourself. You start to believe, I can't, I'm messy, I lack discipline. And that negative self-image becomes another obstacle next time. It's a cycle that erodes your sense of competence, and that's much more serious than a missed deadline. So productivity isn't just about doing more. It's about doing with less emotional weight, more clarity, and a lighter mind. And to get there, breaking the procrastination cycle is essential. Now, if you've made it this far, it's time for the part you were probably waiting for, the practical tips. So let's go. Here are 5 simple and real strategies that can help you break the procrastination cycle and build sustainable discipline. The 2-minute rule. If a task takes less than 2 minutes to do it immediately. This helps clear your mental space and gives a feeling of progress. For bigger tasks, start with just 2 minutes. Often, starting is the hardest part, and once you begin, it gets easier to continue. Make the first step stupidly easy. Instead of saying, I'm going to study for 3 hours, say, I'll just open the book and read 1 page. This small beginning reduces resistance and builds momentum. Use the environment in your favor. Your surroundings can help or hinder your focus. Put your phone on airplane mode, clear your workspace. Use headphones with white noise if needed. Sometimes the best strategy is to make distractions harder to access. Create a ritual to get started. Have a routine that signals to your brain it's time to focus. For example, make coffee, sit at the same place, put on a playlist. This ritual prepares your mind for action and turns focus into a habit. Celebrate small wins. Every time you complete a task, even a tiny one, celebrate. Smile, stretch, say something nice to yourself. Celebration reinforces the behavior and creates a positive feedback loop. Remember, discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about being kind to yourself, building consistency little by little, and learning from each slip-up instead of punishing yourself for it. The goal isn't to become a productivity machine. It's to build a routine that respects your rhythm and helps you move forward with more ease and clarity. In the end, there is no secret formula. You just need to start and start again as many times as necessary. This is the real way. If this video made sense to you, share it. It may be that someone is stuck the same way you were until now. Subscribe to the channel. Every day has video to remind you of what you are capable of.